Today, I wanted to talk about karma. This is kind of my commentary on what karma means after 20 years of coming to OCBC. My family's 20-year anniversary at OCBC will be the first Sunday after Mother's Day in May. So I just have to hang on for another month or two, and I get my 20-year pin. So karma is a really big topic in Buddhism, but I've noticed over the past 20 years, we don't talk about it that much directly. I think it's inferred or implied, or it's kind of tangential, but I don't think we really talk about it directly. I think it's in our teachings, but not explicitly. And the other thing about karma, I think another reason why it's not a popular subject is it's very hard to describe. And it's misunderstood a lot in the West. If you watch a sitcom and somebody gets in a car accident, they say, oh, that's because you had bad karma. So it's been Christianized and Westernized to be some sort of retribution for bad behavior. And it's very moral and ethical. That's confusing. And another reason it's confusing, at El Camino College, I went there before I went to UCLA, and I had a physics professor. I mentioned it before. His name's Tom Wilson. And people say, well, what is karma is a very simple question. You should be able to answer that very simply and quickly. But he used to say that just because a question is simple to ask doesn't mean that the explanation isn't incredibly complicated, right? So what's gravity? What is life? These are simple questions, but it's very complicated to answer. So before we get started, I'd like to read this with you to open my talk, and hopefully this will also be the conclusion to my talk if all things go well. So this is the ekoku that we say at the end, the 4 lines we say every time we chant. We always read these lines. Gani shi kudoku byodo se isai dohon bo daishin ojo an rakoku. And so in English, it means, if you could join me in Gasho, I vow that the virtue of this truth be given equally to all. May they awaken the Bodhi mind and realize the realm of peace and joy. So I highlighted the important words for me. It mentions virtue of truth. Truth has a virtue, and it's given, right? We receive it. All beings receive. It's not earned, but it's received. And then we receive an awakening of the Bodhi mind as a benefit. And we realize peace and joy rather than attaining peace and joy. So it seems like it's coming towards us rather than us generating it. And that is something we talk a lot about in our tradition. But what does that have to do with karma? So here we go. So there's actually 3 kinds of karma in Buddhism that I want to talk about. And then associated with karma is you generate merit for it. And in India, this idea of merit, they used a monetary analogy or metaphor, but they took it really extreme. So this metaphor got pushed too far. But they almost think about it like double entry books. Like if you donate money, it goes into the black category of your account, your karma account on Venmo or Bitcoin. And if you do something bad, you get a debt. It goes into the red. And you really want to just be in the black. That's good. And the idea is if you generate enough merit, you can also transfer it to others. And it almost sounds like money, but you could imagine in a practical sense that if you were calm at home and you were peaceful and you listened to your family, that would kind of create a circumstance or a situation in your house that was more healthy and more constructive. So that's kind of the way I think of karma. Rather than a moral and ethical bank account, it's more the situation and the circumstances you create for your life through your habits. So that's the way I tend to look at it. So one of the big important things is when we think about karma in our service book, we made sure in the Golden Chain that we put may I not I will. So it's a subtle distinction, but may I is a vow or a wish or an intention. So one thing the Buddha did is your karma is not determined at birth. It's not fixed. It's based on your intentions, and how you act in your life is how you generate karma. So this intention thing is really important. I've told this story before, I think, but one day when I was working, because I'm a full-time minister, I have to be here even when it's not Sunday, and I do work. I was in here cleaning up, and there was a little baby lizard in the lobby, but he didn't look well. It was cold, and it was like in January or February, and I thought lizards were supposed to be born in spring. So I picked him up very gently, and I was taking him out to the garden, and somehow on our way from here to there, I opened my hand and he was dead. I know, I felt really bad. I felt really bad. And I was hoping that he was just playing dead, you know? And I waited and I waited, and I put him in the garden. And then like an hour later, I came by and I looked and he was still there. The next day, he was still there. So my intention was to do something good. And I killed this poor baby lizard. So, you know, maybe in a Western sense, that's very bad. But in a Buddhist sense, my intentions were very good. I didn't intend harm. And so luckily for me, I'm Buddhist, I didn't acquire. I kept telling myself, you know, you could feel terrible. I felt awful, but I told myself, but you didn't acquire any negative karma. So the three ways to generate karma in Buddhism is mentally, the way we think, so our thoughts. And then it's also the words that we say. And it's also the things we do with our body, our deeds. So these are the three ways that you generate karma. So it's kind of cool, right? I like it. It's kind of orderly. Thinking, speaking, and your actions with your body. So we read the Golden Chain today, and it's not a coincidence that we say, may I think pure and beautiful thoughts, may I say pure and beautiful words, and may I do pure and beautiful deeds. So these are the three ways that we generate karma in our lives. And these are things that we have, you know, awareness on, and we can really begin to practice this in our daily lives. And then I wanted to read the Eternal Now as well. So, I mean, in here, these aren't just coincidences, right? These are placed specifically in the Buddhist tradition. Every idea, word, or action that is thought or spoken or taken influences everything in the universe, because everything is interdependent and everything is one. So, you know, the words you use affects the people around you. So, and also the more you behave in a negative way, you begin to develop habits where it's easier to act that way. So if you tend to see the world in a negative way, you tend to speak in a negative way, and it's kind of a feedback loop begins to set up. So then again, think, speak, and act always in the eternal now with compassion and understanding. And so it's for your own enlightenment, but so this is the merit transfer to you, but then you're also transferring merit to others. And you can think of merit as virtue, maybe in the West. So, so now I wanted to talk a little about acquiring merit. So again, with the mind, we acquire merit with our thoughts, with speech, with words, and body with actions or deeds. So physical activity is a way we acquire merit. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I think in the West, we focus a lot on acquiring merit for ourselves through our actions. And in our tradition, This isn't talked about a lot, not because it's not true, but because there's another alternative where we receive merit from ultimate reality itself. And so scholars sometimes wonder why Shinran Shonin, the founder of our tradition, doesn't talk a lot about the Eightfold Path or the Four Noble Truths, or why doesn't he talk more about karma? And one scholar said there were 3 theories. One is Shinran Shonin, a devout Buddhist practitioner, never heard of the Eightfold Noble Path. That's one theory. He just didn't know about it. And that's highly, highly unlikely. The other one is he didn't agree with it. He was the one Buddhist who was against the Eightfold Noble Path, which is likely not true. The third one that I kind of like is that he just assumed it was common knowledge, right? There's a lot of things I don't talk about in my Dharma talk because I just kind of assume the audience and it's common knowledge. So this idea of karma, you could say, was an assumed truth, and it wasn't explicitly stated. So in our tradition, this alternate way, rather than trying to generate merit through your own actions, I think Shinran focused on the merit we can receive. We can receive vast amounts of virtue and merit from truth and from reality and from the interdependence with all things. So there is karma in Jodo Shinshu, but we're receiving it rather than generating it. So with the mind, nen butsu means, nen means to think or contemplate, and butsu means Buddha. So contemplating on the Buddha, holding the Buddha in your mind, is a beautiful and wonderful thought. Speech, I ran out of room on my slide, and I put nab. I assume that you know nab is Namo Amida Buddha. Don't leave church saying nab, nab, nab. What are you doing? Reverend Turner said we have to say nab, nab. So, you know, when we're at our services, we listen to the teachings. It perfumes our mind with the thoughts of the Buddha and his teachings. We say Namo Amida Buddha through speech. And then we do a lot of things with our body too. Bodily practice is a big deal in Buddhism. Bowing, chanting, offering incense, gasho. These body practices are quite important. This is a different talk, but the body is actually a better entry point for us to make positive change in our life than is the mind, because it's usually cluttered and diluted, and it's difficult. It's actually difficult to think what you want to think about and control your speech, but bodily activities is a really nice shortcut that is used in Buddhism a lot. So again, we could interpret the golden chain as thinking pure and beautiful thoughts by listening to the Dharma, saying pure and beautiful words by chanting Namo Amida Buddha, and doing pure and beautiful deeds by chanting, bowing, gasho, offering incense. And then what would really make it great, and maybe I could sneak into the files next time we print the service book, and I could change that last line down there from we will attain perfect peace to we will receive this merit from ultimate reality itself. It's something we receive. It's not really something we generate. So you can generate good karma through your daily life. It's just that this is a much larger source. So I gave this Dharma talk at the Dharma School teachers meeting a couple months ago, and that giant round black thing in the lower left corner is someone's head. But, you know, I talked about karma as intention, and you can generate merit for your own individual benefit, but it's more like squeezing, what do they call that? Trying to get water out of a stone. It's like a dripping faucet. The order of magnitude is very minuscule. The return on your investment is small. It's difficult, but there is benefit in it. But the one on the right is Niagara Falls. This is thinking about the Buddha through Nembutsu, saying Namo Amida Butsu, and bowing and chanting and offering incense. So I wanted to give you a little metaphor. This dog is working really, really hard. He's trying to generate and acquire merit. He's getting drips and drabs, so he is getting water. It is effective, and you could say it's necessary for your spiritual development, but I think Shinran's saying it's not sufficient. And I think sometimes what Shinran's saying is, for busy, everyday people, you can try to go this route, or you can go this route. So this is that saying, drinking water through a fire hose. So this is a Pure Land Buddhist dog. So there's this vast source of merit through the eternal now. And we touch that whenever we listen to the truth of the teachings, we think on the Buddha, we say Namo Amida Butsu, and it fills our heart and mind, and we practice sitting, bowing, and saying Gasho. And so I think what Shinran is doing, I don't think he's negating our efforts, but I think he's just saying there's he's focusing on the path that is most advantageous, right? Like if you're gonna study for a test, you'd wanna study the way that gets you the best grade in the quickest time possible. And I thought about this, when you go to the doctor and you have the flu, you feel terrible, but you don't know if you have the worst flu ever or a moderate case. All I know is I'm sick. And if the doctor said to me, I've got this medicine that works for most people, I was gonna give it to you, but I've got this other medicine that works for everyone, and it's really potent. And it might be more than you need, but it's guaranteed to work. Oh, I so want the second one. I want the guarantee. I want the one that works for all people and has lots of potency. That's the one I want. And I think that's why Shinran focuses on Amida Buddha and the Pure Land and saying Namo Amida Butsu. So we still have two kinds of merit. It's just we're focusing on the one we're receiving rather than the one we are generating. And we have three kinds of karma, but like I said, it's still mind, speech, and body, but it's a practice of ritualized receiving of ultimate truth that we can touch at any time. And I gave this talk at Vista, and Judy Nakatomi, one of the minister's assistants, she came up to me after the talk and she said, Sensei, you know, you really should have used this from the end of all of our sutra chantings. This is the perfect conclusion. So I stole this from her. I didn't think of this. She said, that's what we chant all the time. So I went home and I added this to my PowerPoint. So if you could join me in Gasho. I vow that the virtue of this truth be given equally to all. May they awaken the Bodhi mind and realize the realm of peace and joy. Namo Amida Butsu, Naman Butsu, Naman Butsu, Naman Butsu, Naman Butsu. Thank you very much.